have printed from the peak, as that is from Ministry of Science, which is the newspaper daily.
You can learn from that as well. You know, it's very, very fast, it's very, very quick, and we also need to keep up with that as well.
So a question on that note, what's Volvo's take on the current EV policy, whereby currently the tax exemptions for imported cars are set to end by 31st December, and in another 2 more years for production. Are there any areas which the government could do better to support?
No, I wouldn't say the government can do better. I think, you know, the government are going to make the decisions that are right for Malaysia as a country, and also right for the fiscal rules that they need to live by. We just need to adapt to whatever changes that come. So if, for example, the EV tax exemption finishes at the end of this year, we've already done those calculations to look at, okay, what are the different scenarios that we're going to need to work with. That's already happened, because we don't know, we most probably won't know until December. So we've already planned, okay, we've got a plan A, we've got a plan B, we've got a plan C. That's all we can do. You know, we're not, nobody's going to be able to change the strategy. Only the government can change the strategy, and that's their strategy. We just have to work within that strategy that they have. It's that simple.
On that note, Volvo Car Malaysia is obviously one of the earliest to start CKDing EVs here in Malaysia.
1966 actually.
Right, yeah.
And the only reason I remember that is because we were in the World Cup in the same year, so that's the only reason I remember.
Yeah, and in terms of EV as well in Malaysia, I think Volvo is pretty much the first. Yeah. And so I'm wondering, how has that translated in terms of business and your operations, because currently, like he said, there's still a tax break for even the imported EVs as well. So is that something that has either impacted either positively or?
I would say not really. And again, you know, my perspective is very simple. I don't look at what the others are doing. That's not my area. Okay, what I have to do is focus on what Volvo does. So what we sell, what we offer, and any changes that come, whether they are tax changes to offer changes, that's what I have to manage together with these guys. And what we will do is that we will then look at, okay, what is the best thing for the market for Volvo cars in Malaysia? You could even say, put Thailand on one side. Thailand doesn't matter. It's what is important for Malaysia that matters. And for me, in terms of impacts, no, there hasn't been any. I think what we have to make sure we do is have this balanced and flexible approach to what the consumer needs. Because at the end of the day, the consumer is the most important person. It's not me, it's not any of us here, it's the consumer. And they're the ones that ultimately pay our salaries and everything else. So for me, they're the number one. That's a question you need to ask VCMM. Okay, I can't talk about VCMM because somebody else manages that side of the business. I think that's a question for them. I think from my perspective, this year we've seen the market situation is reasonably tough, especially in the premium market. The good news is, whatever happens in the market, we need to make sure we maintain market share. Ideally grow it, but at the minimum maintain it, and we're doing that. So we're maintaining our market share. That's all I can focus on, is where we go with the tools that we have. In terms of the local CKD operation, obviously it's very important. It's been here since 1966. We also have never won the World Cup since, so it means that the plant's never going to go anywhere either. So, to give you a direct answer, I can't give you the ins and outs of VC because that's not my area. But what I can say is that we're not going anywhere. We're here to stay. So we will again just adapt as the market changes. I think a lot of it is down to the offer. I think a lot of it is also down to whatever new cars you've got coming out. So you've seen, for example, that if you take the EV segment, so the EV segment so far, I think year to date May, it's gone up 164% year over year, right? Which is remarkable. But it's driven by really two brands. And we all know what those brands are, and we all know what models they are. Yeah? But that's what's driven it. And great, because actually it helps with the whole EV adoption anyway. So I don't see it as a bad thing. I think from our perspective, what we have to do, and I keep talking about the same thing, so apologies for that, but it's about making sure we have the right offer that has the most viable approach for all consumer types. Because an EV won't be the right car for everyone today. I think in the future, yes, it will, because the technology changes very fast. Battery chemistry changes very fast. So if you think, you know, four years ago, we had electric cars in the market that had a range of about 180 kilometres, and then it took about 14 hours to charge them. Yeah. Now we have ranges of over 600 kilometres. It takes less than 30 minutes to charge. That's how fast it changes, and that also takes a lot of time and effort to keep up with. That's basically the answer. Is we just have to keep evolving. We're in, as an industry, we're in this huge state of transformation. It's not just Volvo, it's everybody, and we have to keep up with it, and that's what we're doing. Right now, you know, you see, for example, in Europe, there's a lot of talk in the media that is very negative news about EV, and actually, a lot of it isn't necessarily always accurate. But what it does is it drives that mentality, which also seeps into then the RV settings. So I think collectively as an industry, we've got to be very careful on how we position things. And I think going back to your exact question, we will continue to try and be as competitive as we can, but I'm not going to play in the price war, because that doesn't benefit us, it doesn't benefit the customer, and it certainly doesn't benefit these guys. And my role is to make sure that we get a balanced view across. And if the market goes down that route, then we'll just have to do our own thing.
The reason why I ask is because you're now sitting in a hub where your competitors are here, your EV competitors are here, and without mentioning the brands, you know they are playing the price war.
Yeah.
But you might drive away customers on a weekend who come in here and say, how much discount are you going to give me? How much are you willing to throw?
But then I would argue that actually, why would they come into Volvo in the first place if their purchase decision is all about discount?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want discount, I wouldn't be looking at a premium brand.
Right.
That would be my first view, is that if you're, as the consumer, if you're driven by the amount of discount I'm going to get, then actually you'd be better going to a volume brand because you will get more discount.
Right.
I think with all premium brands, yes, of course, there's going to be offers out there. But I think, for me, it's not about necessarily, as I mentioned before, what the competitors do. What Lexus do, what our other companies do, is up to them. What we have to do is try and be as competitive as we can. That doesn't necessarily mean on price, because our specification levels are different, our powertrain levels are different. What we offer as a company is different to what others offer out there. Yes, there's some similarities, of course, but then it really depends on what is it the consumer wants from their car. If they want to drive in one of the safest cars that's available, then they're going to come and look at one. But if they want the biggest discount, then I think they're going to go somewhere else first to be really blunt.
Right. The problem.
Yes, in Malaysia, slightly different to the rest of the world. There's a lot more sedans sold in Malaysia than there certainly is in Europe. US is also fairly big on sedans, but SUV is by far the biggest volume. And of course, as a manufacturer, we need to look at where that volume is on a global basis, not just on a regional basis. It needs to be, you know, what does the consumer want across the world? And that changes. But right now, it's been a lot more towards SUVs than it has been for anything else. And we've seen, for example, that wagons have been declining. We've seen that traditional sedans have been declining globally. So we need to kind of rethink, okay, well, what is it the customer wants? I think we've got it, and you'll see the results of that over the next months, years, and